Eddie Longany, 69 Camaro SS396. Now, this is a hot rod Camaro. Terry Hembry's was the lower horsepower E car. This is an A car, Greg Rowe. That's an E car. 1060 is his dial. Only 0.4 difference between the late model GTO and the early model SS396 Camaro. GTO spins the tires hard. Longany was lined up crooked, and he heads for the center line. But Longany at this point looks like he has got the race in hand unless he does something really dumb down there. And he didn't. 1044 at 104 miles an hour. He knew when he caught Greg Rowe by about 150 feet that he just needed to stay on the plus side of the dial to get the win, and that's exactly what he did. Phil Langford up next, the Gold Rush Camaro. Factory stock B and Wayne Adams. 69 Corvette with the 350. Still waiting on the GTOs. I guarantee you having a conversation with himself down there at the finish line. Going, I can't believe this thing didn't. And now we bump our way in. A 2-second head start plus. There goes the classic Chevrolet, and the gold car gets the red light. And Phil was way on the red side. So Wayne Adams, he's down there about 300 feet. When he saw his wind light turn on, that's a pretty good feeling. Goes 1133 at 114 mph. Phil Langford goes 908 on the 907. He did a good job of the shoe polish. Didn't do quite such a good job with the brake pedal. Now it's Tommy Turner, the #1 qualifier, and Case Volkman. Case, 20 years old. Tommy, 3 times that plus. Handicap difference here, not a whole lot. Half a bulb, as a matter of fact. Reaction time still very, very important in handicap racing because you either extend or give up your head start by virtue of your reaction time. And Tommy Turner was late on the bulb, but he is going to get away with it. 1172 at 106 miles an hour. Case goes 1160 at 110 after dialing in 1144, and that's rather interesting. Qualified at 1158, dialed 1144, and could only muster an 1160. Gary Russell, that is an A stick. SS396 4-speed 67 car. And Greg Lubin in the C-Automatic 98 model Camaro. So you're looking at 30 years of Camaro evolution right before your very eyes, and you're looking at a red light by 0.02 of a second. Greg goes red, Gary goes on. He runs 10.008, 132 miles an hour with the big block and the clutch, 10.58 on the 59 for Greg Lubin. Greg missed a perfect run by 0.03 of a second. He's 2 thou red and 1 thou too quick. Ugh, so close to perfection. Now it's Brian O'Toole in the 89, Fox body drop top. And Keith Bennett in his A stick, a 427 4-speed 69 Camaro. I got to get me one of them, just because. And another red light start. All right, I've had about enough of the red lights. Can we get Keith Bennett to back up and do that wheelie again? I just want to see that again. I think he got second gear before the nose touchdown. Pretty sure of it. 10.08 for the win, 130 miles an hour. Keith Bennett runs dead onto the dial after Brian O'Toole was red for Hun. And that'll bring up Tom Head. 64 Belvedere with the 383, kind of the mid-motor. And Kyle Tripp. Now Kyle, in class eliminations yesterday, broke an axle. As you can imagine. I mean, you know, those 4-cylinder Omnis, man, you got to be careful of that stuff. They'll send parts flying for miles. That car's faster than you might think, though. It is a turbo version for the former Coloradian who now calls Division II home. Just look at the dial-in. He's dialed at 1319, and that's soft for that car. Oh, and a red light start for Tom Head. So Kyle Tripp, I guarantee you, he wanted a good, clean, fun checkout run, and Tom Head just obliged. He was red by 0.2. 13:29, 99 miles an hour for Tripp, but he had the win light via Tom Head's red light. And he'll be back to race some more tomorrow. Daniel Williams now, 69 Nova SS396. We got all the big block cars together. That's cool. And Jim Nichols, that is a 1965 Hemi Belvedere. Cool car alert, cool car alert. ×2. Which one do you like better? The Hemi Belvedere or the SS396 4-speed Nova? Believe me, second choice would look great in my collection. I'm working on my dream collection for years. In my dream, Jay Leno comes to my place and goes, whoa. Kind of like what I do when I go to his place. It's like, whoa. Both of them dialed in the 9s. That's quicker than Pro Stock cars went here in 1970. And they turn them loose. The Hemi. They're at the finish line. There can only be one winner. Give it to the Hemi car, 974 at 133 miles an hour, and Jim Nichols just got away with a 157 reaction time. Who? Dan Williams goes 10-12 at 116 miles an hour. Something happened down at the other end of the racetrack. That thing was not running full song when he crossed the stripe. And now it is Jim Marshall, the wheel standing 1977 Nova, and Ray Bunton in the Camaro. This is a heads-up matchup. They're both iAutomatic cars. That's probably bad news for Ray Bunton because Jim Marshall's car was really fast in class. But two cars, same category, they get together. There's no dial-in, there's no handicap, there's no head start, and there's no breakout. You make a green light show up on the bottom of the tree and a wind light on the top of the board, and you get to go on. And that's exactly what Jim Marshall just did. 1135 at 113 miles an hour. Ray goes 1165 at 80 miles an hour. And now it's Roy Hill, the factory stock A car, supercharged Cobra Jet for Alsco and Phoenix and Roy Hill's drag racing school. And Bud Rowe, the engine builder out of North Carolina, in his D-automatic 4th gen Trans Am. Uncle Roy dialed in 974. It's going to be a 2 Mississippi head start for Bud Rowe. Here we go. Oh, no, 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 no. Bud Rowe goes red. Roy Hill wanted to go red. Bud wouldn't let him. Roy Hill gets the win, 871, 131 miles an hour. Bud goes 1072 at 122, but he jumped 500 too soon. Red light's on, Pontiac's gone, Cobra Jet goes on. Gary Glazner pulls up to the starting line now. That's a 351 powered 1972 Mustang. Gene Jordan on the right side, that's a 427 69 Camaro. Not as much handicap as you might think between these two. Jordan's got his dialed back to a 1034. Glazner's dialed down to a 1079. There's the handicap, and there's another red light. Okay, we need to think green here. Isn't St. Patrick's Day coming up soon? 1081 for the win for Gary Glazner. I'm sure the red light didn't bother him at all, but it's way less fun for me with all these red lights. And, you know, hey, it's all about me right now. 1042 at 119 miles an hour for Gene. All right, I need everybody to think of something green. And then focus your attention on the bottom of the tree. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's money. I don't care if it's green grass. I don't care if it's somebody's green eyes. I don't care if it's the cheese that's been in my refrigerator for 4 years. Just think of something green. Like autumn green in the left lane. Jeff Warren in the right lane. Well, you don't think the cheese in my fridge for 2 years is green? I'll send you a picture. Hey, it worked! It worked! Yay! Autumn. Clean green down and away with that 4-speed. 76 Nova. Here comes Jeff Warren. Copo Camaro. Finish line. No, not going to happen. 1168 on the 1167. Couple that with a 007 reaction time with a clutch foot. And Autumn just laid a whooping on Jeff Warren. He ran 10,000 at 130 miles an hour, was never in the race. Okay, now let's keep it going, okay? Keep it going. Lee Tuttle, the R stock automatic, and Mark Lewis, the B stock automatic. We got about a 3-second head start between these two red Chevrolets. Just keep thinking green and watching the tree. Okay, it's still working. No, no, no. You blinked. You flinched. You didn't concentrate. Ugh. Mark Lewis Goes 18 on the bad side of the tree. Lee Tuttle got the win with a 002 reaction time and a 13:48 at 97 miles an hour. 10:48 at 124 for Mark. And his Baby Gators is done. Marty Booth, the Mustang. O automatic. That is a 4-cylinder turbo car. And John Gray, that is an SS396. Come and get you some car. Handicap, pretty good one. Little over 2 seconds. And then John Gray is going to stand that Camaro up and charge down on the Mustang. Here's what I can tell you for sure. John Gray is going to pass Marty Booth down there somewhere. I just don't know where. If he passes him at 1,322 feet, yeah, it's too late. Here comes John Gray. He has caught Marty. He looked over at Marty. He waved at Marty. He took his foot off the gas and goes 10:05 for the win at 112 miles an hour. I don't know what Marty Booth was looking at, but it was not the tree. Or maybe he was thinking green and wanted to make darn sure before he hit the gas. Either way, Marty was dead late, and John Gray made him pay. Now it's Wayne Larson in the big old Pontiac Le Mans, and Scott Gove. Talk about high-flying, really cool SS396 cars. Scott's dialed in at 982, so the handicap is going to be a big one, just like the last pair. The Camaro's going to pass him somewhere, and it ain't going to matter now. A red light decides the winner. This race was over 0.04 of a second before it was supposed to start. A 982 on a 982 for Scott Gove. So he predicted 82 and he ran 82. That's good. His reaction time was 81. That didn't matter, simply because Wayne Larson's reaction time was red. Now it's McNeil Freeman in the taxi and Matt Rover. Okay, this is going to be fun. An almost 5 Mississippi head start for the 4-door Caprice before we turn loose the 446 breather. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Missa. No, no, no! You should have waited for Sippy. Matt Rover goes 003, R-E-D, and McNeil Freeman, the part-time Uber driver, gets the win. We need to get him an Uber light for the dashboard of that thing. 15:22 for the win, 86 miles an hour, and Matt Rover, 3 thousandths too soon. Painful for Matt. Not a problem for McNeil. That was just fine with McNeil. Painful for Matt. Steve Foley, C Automatic Firehawk. Pete Noriega, the Malibu. The M Automatic 305 car against the 350 fuel-injected Firehawk. Those 80 Malibus have become so popular in stock and super stock in whatever configuration. And they're actually pretty cool little cars. All right. Look, you guys keep red lighting, and I'm going to get Ron Ruggles in here. I'm looking for something that might help. 10:41 for the win for Steve Foley. He won that one before he moved. Pete Noriega ended the race before it was scheduled to start, and then runs 11:98. Now it's Gary Summers in the U Automatic. Oh, this ought to be interesting. The 77 no horsepower Mustang and the 67 SS350 Camaro with a 4-speed. Summers, head start 3.35 seconds. If they stay green, this will be fun. They better stay green. We're halfway there. We were within 15,000 to be in there. Okay, I've given up now. I've given up completely. 14:13, 76 miles an hour for Summers. 10:77 for Donnie Voigt after he dropped the clutch a 1.5 too soon. Okay, I have determined at this point that it's not possible to have a green light race. So we're just going to battle to see who goes red. That's it. I've given up on you guys and girls. You've disappointed me for the last time. Oh my God, I sound like my mother. You know how many times she said that to me? Well, at least I can't be too disappointed here. I'm disappointed that Charlie Downing was a no-show. But I can't be disappointed in the red light when there's no car on the starting line, then that's going to happen. How about Mike Bower standing up that 90 model Corvette? It's like, look, everybody look at my oil pan. Whee! 1107, 117 miles an hour for Mike. And now we've got George Warren in the 67 Fairlane 390 and Vic Cagnazzi in the factory stock D 396 Camaro. A fun little match here. About a second and a half head start. I was asking for green lights and I never got them, so here's where we're going to go now. Somebody, please red light. Well, I'm thinking right now their goal in life is to disappoint me. Once again, I sound like my mother. Whoa, easy, Vic, easy, Vic, easy! Vic Cagnazzi's car stood up, hung a left. 11:04 for the win at 117 for George Warren. I believe Victor crossed the white line out there, would have been disqualified anyway. But it's not going to matter at this point because Vic comes out on the wrong side of a double breakout with a 9:51.5 to George Warren's 11:04.8. George was under by 2 thou. Vic was under by 5 thou. But Vic's car, wild off the starting line. Now it's Sterling Simmons and Morgan Wilson. Sterling driving the Camaro that belongs to Cynthia. Morgan driving the Nova that belongs to Billy. Simple as that. The two classic small block Chevrolets down to the stripe. Winner picker says Sterling Simmons. Sterling just hit Morgan with 3 zeros. A perfect reaction time. And then in 11:12 at 104 miles an hour, 11:07 for Morgan Wilson at 66 miles an hour off the throttle before the stripe. Nick Ryder and Tim Barrett trying it now. Happy birthday, Linda, from Tim Barrett. I said as a general rule I don't do shout-outs, but if you can get your shout-out on the back window of a stock Illuminator car, then you get it. Whoa, 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 whoa! Man, Nick Ryder's car stood up. Did somebody put a magnet in the Christmas tree? Nick Ryder's car stood up and headed for the tree, kind of like Vic Cagnazzi's did. 11:51 for the win for Tim. Happy birthday, Linda. Make him take you someplace nice for dinner. Don't fall for that. Oh, the ale house is the nicest place in town. Actually, it's not bad. That might work now that I think about it. Nick Ryder's car stood up, went to the right, slammed down, and I'm not sure if it's still running or not. I know that it is moving at a very slow pace through the top end of the racetrack. But I mean, that thing came crashing down. Oh, this ought to be fun. Jeff Atkinson and Marion Stevenson. I know they look like they should be the same, right? They're not. Not. Jeff Atkinson driving the Jeff Taylor prepped Copo in the left side and Marion Stevenson in the rescue car. That is a B stock automatic. It is not a Copo. It's dialed in at 1021. The Corn Dog King will get the head start, and then the Peanut Farmer will try to catch him. Really. It's like that. Both drivers away on the green. We got to figure this one out down at the other end of the racetrack. See, I started praying for red lights, and all of a sudden we haven't seen one since. After identical reaction times, Marion Stevenson runs dead on 5 and gets the win. Jeff Atkinson got the stripe and broke out. They both had 026 bulbs, and Marion Stevenson left Jeff Atkinson a 5 thou window to try to sneak in. Couldn't do it. Casey Miles with a 302 and a 4-speed. Merrill Shrimpsker with a 350 and an automatic. The classic 69 Camaros. You like the SS350, you like the Z28. They dialed almost heads up, but it's not a heads up run. Casey Miles said 4 aces were going to be his magic number. Unfortunately for Casey, his reaction number was not great. Merrill goes 029. Merrill gets there first, and Merrill was on the plus side. Casey was a little bit late. Casey got there second, and Casey was 3 thou too quick. That's a strike 3. Round 1 loss. John Meinelt in his 67 Camaro. And Ellis Booth, the Pinto with the 4-cylinder and a clutch, because it would just be silly to have a Pinto with a 4-cylinder and an automatic. Watch this head start. Ellis was almost in 3rd gear before the tree came down for John. But can he hold him off? The Camaro closing in, finish line coming, 3, 2, 1. Give the nod to the Pinto. Beware the wagon. It goes down as a double breakout. Ellis is under by 1 thou. John is under by 3 hun. Ellis Booth gets the win. Beware the wagon. I love this car. Barry Parker's 1970 Camaro, SS396. I didn't say it was my favorite. That's Homer's. I said I loved it. Tim Lowe, the factory stock F, over on the right side. Now this is 2 cars that dialed the same number. It's not a heads-up, no breakout race, but they will leave together. The 2nd generation Camaro, the latest generation Camaro. The wheels up for both Camaros. The side-by-side run to the stripe. Winner, picker, says 1024 for the win for the classic. Barry Parker at 113 miles an hour. 1026 at 130 miles an hour for Tim Lowe. Neither driver is going to brag about the reaction time. Barry was a tick better, however. And now it's Blake Hickman and Butch Payne. Couple of Generation 3 Chevrolets. And they're off and running. This time they were dialed almost heads up. Couple of hundredths difference between the shoe polish numbers and down at the finish line. 1148 on the 1145 is going to be a winner. That's over by 3. Butch goes 52 on a 47. That is over by 5. So Blake Hickman, better on the tree, closer to the dial. That's a winner. Now it's Ricky Stevens in the 66 model Nova. Terry Bennett in the 69 model Nova. A Generation 2 car in the left lane, a Generation 3 car in the right lane. If you think I'm wrong, Google it. 1155 to 1160 for the G car and the J car, so only 5 hun difference as the tree counts down. And we got it going on now. I mean, we got it going on now. Oh, Terry Bennett has a 007 reaction time. It took a chunk at the finish line and runs under by 0.08 of a second. Ricky follows Terry across, runs under also, but he's going to come out on the right side of the math. He's under by 0.04. Terry needed a whole lot more brake pedal to make that work out. Couldn't get it done. Listen up in the pits. Attention in the pits. Super Comp, come on down, round number 1. Super Comp, practice time is over. It's time to race. Round number 1 to the staging lanes, please. Frank Aragoner's SS396 Camaro in the left side. And Dick Kincaid, the 67 Chevy 2 winner, in the right side. Oh, if only you had a crystal ball, right? If only, if only, if only. Dick Kincaid's reaction time started with a 1. Frank Aragona doesn't know that. He goes up and leans on the tree and comes up red. So Kincaid gets the win, 10.99 on the 11.03. Now it's Randy Wilkes, former world champ, in the Firebird there on the left side, and it's Bill Kelly out of Belle Isle Bay Machine up in New Brunswick. The 78 Nova H-Stick. 78 Nova with a clutch. Don't see a whole lot of those running around anymore. And it picks the front end up when he drops the third pedal. Randy Wilkes trying to catch him with the Formula Firebird down to the finish line stripe. Watch the top of the scoreboard. It says Lucas side. And this is a double breakout. Wow, Bill Kelly predicted 11.09, ran 10.88. Who? Randy Wilkes predicted 9.92, ran 9.89. That's better, as in closer, as in the winner. One more time, Super Comp. Oh, attention in the pits. Super Comp, come on down for round number 1. Time to trim the field in half. Doing a quick little touch-up on the bald spots out there on the racetrack. Glad to have everybody along here. At the Baby Gators, it is an absolutely beautiful sunny day. It's brisk and it's crisp and it's fast and it's fun. Yay. Well, I'm having a good time. And remember, it's all about me. Didn't we cover that earlier? If you want later, I'll play the You and Me, but mostly me song. Touching up the bald spots on the starting line, and we've got a very intriguing Ford-Chevy matchup coming up now. Rob Stigworth, the factory stock I, that's a 352 lower horsepower combination Cobra Jet. That's the gold car. And the right lane is Jim Roberts, who's got a 1969 small block 4-speed Camaro convertible. I actually had a 68 Camaro convertible a couple of years ago. It was a buy and sell car. I'd like to find a few more of those. I was actually talking to a guy at a car show one time, had it sitting there with a for sale sign in it. He said, "What are you asking for it?" I said, $25. He said, "That sounds like a fair deal." Then he said, "Oh, I thought you meant $2,500. I said, "I'll buy every first generation Camaro convertible you can find for $2,500, even if it's currently on fire." He said, "Oh yeah, I thought that sounded a little cheap." Jim Roberts is going to get the win here. It did a lot of it with his clutch foot. 0.17 on the bulb, and then 11.12 on the racetrack, which is under by 2. Stigworth predicted he'd run 45 and ran 39. This just in, it's fast out there. Well, this ought to be fun. John Astrup, 428 Cobra Jet 4-speed Mustang. And Rich South, the B automatic Corvette out of PK Race Cars in Pickerington, Ohio. The Mustang is actually going to get the head start. John will unclutch the beast, and then Rich will stand up the Corvette. Here comes the beast. Here comes the Corvette. Timing is such an integral part of this sport. In this particular case, what time you get your foot off the clutch pedal, because John was a little bit late doing that. For the win, Rich South, 10:37, 123 miles an hour. He is a tenth above the dial and well out in front at the finish line because John just missed the timing of the clutch. Simple as that. Now it's Joe Martins with the SS396 4-speed 69 Camaro. That's another big block 4-speed, really cool car. And Corey Alexander for Piney Green Electric and his 78 Camaro. Z28 with the 350. Head start goes to the right lane by about a second and a half. Ish. Oh, Joe Martins knocked the tire off of it. Let's see if he can recover from that. He dropped the clutch, and I mean, that thing spun violently. Corey Alexander is not going to let him back in down there. 11.54, only 109 miles an hour. Corey looked over his shoulder and went, "Joe's not catching me." Eased off the throttle. 10:39, 133 miles an hour for Joe, and most of that time was given up in the first 5 feet. Now it's Kevin Anderson in the H stock automatic 69 Camaro, and Tex Miller. 72 Mustang, Ford V Chevy, small block V small block, red light V green light, Tex takes it to the stripe, 1071, 122 miles an hour. Kevin Anderson goes 1133 at 114, but 008 on the early side of the tree. And now it's Jim Wall and Jeff Strickland as we're doing a quick little blowing stuff off the starting line over here in the right lane. Jim Wall up next on the left side in the Volare. Out of Competition Carburation. Because I don't know about you, but when I think about competition carburetors, the first thing that comes to my mind is, what am I going to put on my 76 Volare? Well, you know what? I can tell you who to call. Call Jim. Jeff Strickland on the right side. The Victor Cagnazzi GM Parts Now car. With the 427 providing the motivation. Strick on the chase. Wall trying to hold on. Nah, it's going to go Jeff Strickland. 921, 123 miles an hour. Man, he was closing in a hurry. Jim Wall looked like he did a little duck and cover down there, and I'm not sure he could have stopped Strickland anyway. Strick was 014 on the bulb. That's holding 6. Eased off the throttle and went flying by. Now it's Scott Lamar driving the Camaro on the right side, and Rochelle T-Bear. T-Bear Racing Team out of Division 5. They hail from Kansas. Oh, and a red light start for Rochelle. Red light. Game over. Scott Lamar goes 1083 for the win, 121 miles an hour. 1159 at 104. For Rochelle. After the 014 red light, Jerry Bennett, D automatic. D like Duster and Austin Alvey and the G automatic Nova out of Legacy Heating and Air. We're going to make this final call. Oh, attention in the pits. Last call, Super Comp. If you're not here, you're late. Because you guys are going to be on track here really quickly for round number 1. They both get away on the right side of the green. Now Austin Alvey's going to try to see if he can hold off Jerry Bennett down to the stripe. It's going to be Bennett. He goes 1085 at 106 miles an hour. Alvey was better on the tree, but he was well back of the dial. And 1113, only 103 miles an hour. That was definitely a battle of the brake pedals down at the end of the racetrack, and looked like Austin Alvey may have chosen wrong. Tried to back up when he needed to stay out in front. Ron Urquhart, Gail Pinkston, heads up. F automatic. The cool part of this is the left lane car is a 396. The right lane car is a 327. But the left lane car turns it red by 008. And Ron Urquhart, even though he had a much quicker car than Gale did in qualifying, gave it away on the starting line. They were both off the gas at the finish line. 1101 for Pinkston, 1107 for Urquhart. But the red light factored heavily into that one. And now it's Jeff Longany on the left side and Wes Neely on the right. Neely, the electrician out of Mississippi, and Jeff Longany, whose occupation is listed as gold miner. There's gold in them thar hills. Good, I like gold. I like hanging out in them thar hills. I do not like red lights. Wes Neely's guys do, though. Look at them going crazy down there. Well, that's crazy-ish. They get to come back and race again tomorrow, and Jeff Longany, at least in this car, does not. Neely goes 11:58, 112 miles an hour. Here comes a couple of red cars. Larry DeForest, the 428 New Gen Mustang, and Eddie Brooks out of P.C. Richard & Son. Your appliance superstore, your television superstore, your computer superstore, your mattress superstore. And to think they all started out by selling an electric iron. Eddie Brooks out of New York, Larry DeForest out of Minnesota. There's the head start for the Chevrolet, and here comes the Cobra Jet. The Camaro's a long way down there, the pony. Yeah, I got him. 946 at 126 miles an hour for Larry. 1129 for Eddie. Eddie was actually better on the reaction timer, but couldn't run the number. And that left the door open for Larry DeForest. And he took advantage. And it looked like there might have been something blowing around down there in the lights, so we're going to hold up for just a second. We don't want an errant piece of paper to cost somebody an ET or force a rerun here. But tell me about how cool this is. Pete Oakes, 66 Malibu wagon. That's that rough and ready 327 machine, and that thing is really nice. And Jeff Harrington in the factory stock E, naturally aspirated 5-liter Cobra Jet, and oh, by the way, that's the reigning division champion down there in the Ford. They got the errant piece of whatever it was under control and fire up the classic wagon and the new gen pony. You'd have to be of my generation, but those of us that have been around this long remember when you used to sit in the back of Grandma's station wagon and had a seat that faced backwards. And you'd sit all the way in the back of the car and stare at the guy behind you and make faces at him. Well, that's what we did anyway. The rough and ready Malibu and the division champion Cobra Jet. Our last couple of cars. And they're both away on green. Finish line stripe. That says 10:25 for the win, 108 miles an hour. For Harrington, Pete Oakes goes 11:57 at 108. Pete Oakes went down there and basically tried to sit down. Since they're both going 108 miles an hour, that was definitely a battle of the brake pedals. But Harrington gets the better of it.